The new Formula 1 cars for 2023 have been unveiled with numerous aesthetic and performance changes. This year's cars will differ slightly across multiple areas due to technical rule modifications. Today we're digging deeper into these regulation changes to determine which may be for the better and which may be a little out of the ordinary. The 2023 technical battle against porpoising goes on. One of the most important issues that norms are meant to address is the poor person phenomenon that troubled some teams last season. Other goals includes the elimination of some regulatory grey areas. The FIA has required a change in the height of the floor, which will now be 10mm taller diffuser and 15mm higher on the side edge than the reference plane. The cars for 2023 will most likely be 2 to 4 tenths of a second slower on average, depending on how the groove attempts to definitely cancel out porpoising. This will reduce floor stalling, but will result in less downforce, particularly in fast corners. The FIA has taken action against porpoising by finishing some of the work started by the implementation of Technical Directive 3922 for the Belgium Grand Prix. The Mercedes-powered teams Mercedes, Aston Martin, McLaren and Williams sought a 25mm increase in the lateral edge of the floor in 2022, but an intermediate value of 15mm was obtained largely because most of the porpoising concerns had been overcome by then. The chassis of the 2023 cars will be fitted with an accelerometer standard for all and provided by the FIA to measure the frequency of oscillations, which must conform to the FIA's metric standards following last year's summer break. The foundation will be crucial as well. With 250 Newton applied force, the lateral edge will only bend by a maximum of 5mm, as opposed to the maximum of 8mm in 2022 after the controls were strengthened with the Technical Directive 39. The flex control of the skid blocks will also be adjusted, which Joe Gragnew's crash at Silverstone last year gave us an unusually clear glimpse of, with the exception of the entrance area where there will be 4 verification points in place of the T-tray. Because all cars have hit the minimum weight limit and power unit development has been put on hold until 2026, teams must find performance while improving engine reliability. Because of the work done in the past year, there won't be any serious issues of excess weight for the teams as there was last season, which led the FIA to raise the minimum value to 798 kilograms, which engineers will also have to deal with. The minimum weight value is 796 kilograms, which is 2 kilograms less than in 2022. The overall weight will increase by 1 kilogram, reaching 151 kilos. This rise is required because with only 3 power units available for use during the 2023 season, reliability will continue to be a significant problem. The weight of the drive unit as a whole will put a risk on parts that were previously a part of the chassis group. To prevent internal pressure from exceeding 1 bar, a relief valve will be fitted inside the tank. Wings like those contentiously introduced by Mercedes and Aston Martin in 2022 will no longer be seen. Petrol temperature management will be less restrictive as the fuel can be cooled by up to 10 degrees centigrade if the ambient temperature is less than 30 degrees centigrade. Because it was crucial to comply by the curves and volumes in order to shape the cars with ground effects, the wording that comprises a set of rules and technical limits for F1's new generations of cars has been written in such a way that engineers must work using 3-dimensional models that are then authorized by the FIA Technical Office. However, some teams used strategies last year that went against the spirit of rules when it came to the FIA's desire for simple, clean aerodynamics that reduce the amount of dirty air. One such strategy is the rear wing developed by Aston Martin for tracks that call for a lot of downforce. The FIA has explicitly declared this strategy illegal for 2023. The engineering team, under the direction of Andrew Green, studied geometrics to replicate the flow bundling effect that occurred above the rear wing edge of the cars prior to 2022. End plates that protruded beyond the main plate were constructed in an unusual way to meet the concavity and convexity requirements, which prevented the flow from dispersing to the sides of the main flap, maximizing the downforce impact. Mercedes' unique front end is essential, less radical than Aston Martin's. The wing end plate design included a method that increased sidewalls to increase the outwash of the airflow. However, the area between the side skirt and the flat can no longer be curled to create an outlet channel for the flow outwash. It will be more challenging to develop solutions that exploit grey areas of the law because the FIA is exploring every possible technique to avoid teams constantly producing aerodynamics that create penalizing vortices for the car and closely monitoring the budget cap. Mercedes launched this approach in Miami last year and kept it for the rest of the season, with Alfa Romeo copying it in part towards the end of the season. The FIA also addressed unresolved safety concerns. Once more, the FIA Technical Office is collaborating with team engineers to increase safety and reduce risks in Formula 1. Starting in 2023, roller hoops will be more resistant after the opening lap incident at Silverstone, which turned a newcomer Joe Granu upside down. A new crash test load with a force applied in the opposite direction of 49 kilonewtons for 10 seconds will be included in order to compel the FIA to tighten up crash tests in the area as a result of the roll hoop. In addition to the tests concluded in the other three directions, the roll hoop will also be geometrically changed after the 2023 rule, requiring a 20mm forward angle and a 50mm height from the reference plane. The mirrors, which were already tested by some teams in the 2023 version last season, will be increased and will be much taller and broader, forming a 150 by 50mm rectangle as opposed to the previous 60 by 20mm rectangle. The FIA anticipates fewer driver-to-driver collisions on track, particularly during free practice and qualifying sessions, where there have been a few near calls in previous seasons due to improved rear visibility. After all these changes and improvements, the on-track performance was quite the same as last year. In the first race of 2023 Bahrain Grand Prix, Max Verstappen had a comfortable lead and only momentarily lost it during the first round of pit stops. Charles Leclerc overtook Sergio Perez for second position after a slow start. Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton engaged in a fight as they approached turn 4. As they neared the turn, Alonso was struck by teammate Lance Stroll, which caused both Aston Martins to lose positions. On lap 13, Alonso and George Russell engaged in a wheel-to-wheel fight, but both drivers were beaten by Valtteri Bottas of the Alfa Romeo during the pit stops. On lap 40, Leclerc's race was over after his car experienced a mechanical failure while he was racing third.
What happened, guys?
Verstappen then claimed his first victory at the Bahrain International Circuit by nearly 12 seconds over teammate Perez. Alonso's third-place result marked both the first for Aston Martin and himself on the podium since the 2021 Qatar Grand Prix. In the very next race, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the Red Bulls were not short of power at all. Perez posted the fastest time and earned his second pole position in his career. Leclerc achieved the second fastest time, but was penalized and pushed back to 10th grid position. Alonso beat George Russell of Mercedes to the third fastest time. Prior to Stroll, Carlos Sainz posted the 5th mark in the second Ferrari. Alonso positioned his car outside of the starting spot on the grid after the formation lap ended, with the left side facing outside. He squeaked past Perez to claim the lead at the start, with Russell coming in third. He quickly received a 5-second time penalty though for not lining up his car correctly on the starting grid. Mercedes and Aston Martin both mentioned over the radio during the closing laps that Alonso might receive an extra 5-second in penalties. Despite no official message stating an inquiry being shown, Alonso responded by widening his lead over Russell to more than 5 seconds. Verstappen posted the fastest lap on the final lap and earned the extra point to keep the championship lead, but Perez and Verstappen easily ended first and second, despite both of them having problems with their cars. Alonso placed third, surpassing Russell and Hamilton to become the 6th driver of Formula 1 history with 100 podium finishes. Alonso was being looked into shortly after the podium presentation for not properly serving the first penalty during his pit stop, according to an official message that was displayed. He received a 10-second penalty minutes later, lowering him to 4th behind Russell. But Alonso's third-place finish was restored after Aston Martin asked for the penalty to be reviewed again. The teams keep having continuous minor changes to their cars to extract the maximum, hence each race is a beauty to watch. That was all you needed to know, and do let us know your thoughts on these rule changes in the comments section below.